Hey, this is Mark here. Just a real quick video on this American Heart Association recipe that they this just came out like on social media and stuff, and it kind of made a stir because anybody that's in the sort of the health business was saying, what the heck kind of a recommendation is this for patients or people that are likely to have, heart problems. So let me just scroll up to the top here. See, there's the symbol. This is the AHA website. I think it's just called heart.com or something. But anyway, here's their here's this recipe for a breakfast meal. Basically 440 calories, which is kind of, that's a fair amount of calories. 18 grams of protein, fiber, 10 grams, and cost per serving. Now, let's look at the ingredients real quick. What can you tell by this? 2.5 cups of, well, this is for 4. This is skim milk, honey, vanilla extract, the rolled oats, which is the main component, bananas, and then some nuts. Pecan. Now, doesn't sound too bad. Nuts, bananas, oats, right? Milk, honey, these are all sound like good, healthy products. Here's what we can discern. Number one, anytime somebody recommends a dairy product and they're recommending, fat-free, that means they're fat phobic. This is the traditional recommendations from FDA, AHA, and all these government agencies. They're fat phobic. They believe, I don't know why they still believe it, but they believe that, fat is going to cause heart disease and other problems. So skim milk is going to be, so this is going to be protein and a carbohydrate. This is what milk is. Whole milk obviously has fat in it. And my recommendation, any time you're going dairy, yogurt, milk, whatever, go full fat. If you're going to do it, go full fat. Honey, obviously a natural product, but this is sugar. Sugar when you get right down to it. So this is a carbohydrate. Vanilla extract will be just a sweetener. It's going to be carbohydrate. Rolled oats are going to be primarily carbohydrates. There'll be some protein in there. Bananas basically are carbohydrates. And the nuts are basically going to be, all three. You're going to have fat, protein, and some carbs when you eat nuts. And nuts are typically a good little snack. Okay, so what's the problem? Let's look at this little nutritional breakdown here. This kind of shows it to you. So the 443 calories, if you look down here, total carbohydrate, 74 grams of carbohydrate, 10 of which is fiber, which tends to be good, and then 21, which is sugar, which is, coming from that honey, probably primarily from that honey. But 74 grams of carbohydrates at 4 calories per gram, that's about 300 of your calories. So 300 of these 443 calories are carbohydrate, which means almost 75% of this meal is carbohydrate. Protein at 18 grams is whatever that's a small percentage, and then fat is even less. You can see that they've got well, here it is, total less than 10 grams of fat. So they're fat phobic. So this is a high carbohydrate meal. Again, I mentioned in my email, if you're a perfectly healthy person, you can eat this. You're really going to have no ill effects. If you ate this every day and every meal, you might start to see some issues after a while because of just the massive amount of carbs. But it's just that most people are not healthy. If you look at today's population, the reason we're all overweight, have large waist diameters and carrying belly fat is because we have problems with a lot of problems. One of the main problems is just problems regulating your blood sugar. So the last thing you want to do is eat foods that are going to spike your blood sugar. And this is exactly what this will do. This would just give you this sort of big glucose hit, and then there's some downstream effects of that. So, So it's a little deceptive because when you look at the foods, you think that doesn't sound too bad. It's kind of natural products. I mean, it's not like not a bunch of chemical names here: milk and honey and bananas and oats and nuts. Sounds good. It's really probably not what you want. You'd be a lot better off with bacon and eggs and an avocado or something like that. You're gonna, that would be a similar calories if you had, I don't know, you'd have to look it up, but a couple eggs and 4 or 5 pieces of bacon and a half of avocado is probably a similar 450 calories type of thing, but you'd see a much higher protein composition, much higher fat composition. It would be low carbohydrate, and you also would see a lot, better nutrient density. You'd see, more vitamins and minerals and things in there per unit of the meal. So that's the issue. You probably will benefit from a low carbohydrate approach if you're having any kind of sort of metabolic problem, which generally is demonstrated, or the symptom is the obvious symptom is you're overweight. You have a high waist to height ratio. Your waist to height ratio is greater than 0.5. That means you're carrying excess body fat. If you're a male, it's probably in your belly. And one of the simplest ways to start to address that is to go on sort of a sustained low carbohydrate approach. It's not the only way you can solve the problem, but it tends to be one of the easier ways and one of the more consistent ways that works for a lot of folks.